So when you're putting together your bug out bag, really think it over. Say, why am I going to be leaving and when am I going to be leaving? It'll actually influence how you build your bag. In the 40 years that I've been alive, I've never really considered having a bug out bag. Most of my life has been spent living out here in the country, and I always thought I live in the ideal bug out location, so why would I want to leave? Well, I've had a couple events change my mind on that in the last few years. The biggest one has been just a few months ago, actually. We had crazy wildfires this spring that burned 640,000 acres of grassland out here in Kansas. That is a huge area that burned, huge area. And I almost had to leave my house. The fire came within just a few miles of my house, and if the wind had been from a different direction, it probably would have gotten my house. And there was no walking away from my house, going to the shop to, let the firefighters put it out. These fires were so intense that people were telling stories of power poles and fence posts and vehicles catching on fire that were hundreds of feet away from the fire. Just going up in flames even though there was no flame touching them. These fires were crazy. We had over 60-mile-an-hour winds during those days. People said they couldn't even outdrive them in their car. And although you may not have to worry about vast prairie fires, your house still might catch on fire, and you might have to leave due to a fire. It's possible. Yeah, you might just be able to go to your detached garage or your workshop or something and live for a while until you get your house rebuilt. But even at that, you might lose all your possessions. So you need a few things to make sure you can live for a little while, right? I mean, it really sucks if you don't have your passport or your driver's license or stuff like that and you got to replace everything. Debit cards, credit cards. The paperwork that it takes to restart a life these days, when you lose all that, is intense. So make sure you have those items in your bug out bag too. The point of this rambling is you got to have a bug out bag, no matter where you live. Because there's some kind of situation that could definitely impact your life and force you to bug out. I don't know, volcanoes, earthquakes, asteroids, power plants, train derailments. A lot of those things have caused people to evacuate, to leave their house, and they had no plans of ever doing so. They were caught completely by surprise. A lot of people have been forced out of their houses due to train derailments. We had a situation just a couple of years ago in a town east of here, pretty good sized town. They evacuated a large part of the town because some train car carrying some sort of chemical overturned and started fogging the entire town. Something else I didn't know until recently was I live by 2 nuclear power plants. If there's an accident that happens at one of those plants, that would definitely be a good reason for me to leave. Another story I want to tell real quick is I got in an argument with a guy on a forum here a couple years ago. He told me there were no natural disasters in his state. He was talking about Arizona. And the first thing that popped in my mind is, up there on the northern part of Arizona, there's this huge big ditch, which most modern theory suggests that thing was actually created literally overnight. I've been to Arizona a few times. I went outside this little town called Winslow, and there's a big hole in the ground. I'm pretty sure that I was told that was from a natural disaster. So when you're putting together your bug out bag, really think it over. Say, why am I going to be leaving and when am I going to be leaving? It'll actually influence how you build your bag. My bag, I'm going to be throwing in my car and leaving. I'm not going to be carrying, so weight is not too much of an issue for me. Also, I have a wife and a daughter that's going to be going with me, hopefully. That means I'm supporting 3 people out of my bag. Yes, they each have their own bag and they're supposed to grab it, but doesn't mean they're going to have time to get it. Doesn't mean they're going to be home. You never know. So my bag is the primary bag. It is everything for all 3 of us to live. So if you want to see the contents of my bug out bag and hear me talk about why I decided to put in what I put in my bag, click on the card up here. You never know what's going to happen. Heck, that Yellowstone supervolcano could blow up. I doubt it. But you never know.